So if you're a cloud architect or a DevOps engineer, you know the deal. The cloud gives you incredible power, right? But with all that power comes a ton of complexity. And let's be honest, sometimes it's just pure chaos. Today, we're going to talk about how to bring some order to that chaos, and we're going to do it with code.
I mean, does this feel familiar? You've got different teams, all these different environments, and resources are just popping up left and right. Trying to keep everything secure, compliant, and on budget can feel like you're playing a never-ending game of whack-a-mole. It's a huge challenge, and trust me, you are not alone in this.
And look, this isn't just an annoyance, right? It has real consequences. We're talking about inconsistent configurations that drift apart and cause weird reliability issues. We see massive security gaps open up just because someone deployed a resource with a public IP by mistake. And oh yeah, the best part, that frantic scramble just before an audit, trying to piece together proof that you've actually been following the rules. It's like the Wild West out there, and the sheriff is nowhere to be found.
But what if we could, automate the sheriff? What if we could define all our rules, our entire governance model, and have it enforced automatically, consistently, and without ever getting tired? Well, that is exactly where Policy as Code comes into the picture.
So what is this stuff really? Well, at its core, Policy as Code is just about writing your governance rules down in code files, checking them into source control like Git, and then applying them automatically. Think about that for a second. Instead of some policy document collecting dust on a virtual shelf somewhere, your rules become these living, breathing parts of your day-to-day development lifecycle.
And this analogy, this one absolutely nails it. Your developers are already used to this, right? They run code linters to check for syntax errors and unit tests to validate business logic. Policy as Code just takes that same exact idea and blows it up to cover your entire infrastructure. It's like a quality gate, not just for a little piece of an app, but for your whole cloud estate. And you can really see the massive shift here. The old way, it was all about manual checklists, slow change advisory board meetings. It was just begging for human error. But with Policy as Code, the checks are lightning fast, totally automated, and just relentlessly consistent. And that audit trail, it's not something you have to spend weeks compiling anymore. It's just there. It's generated automatically as you go.
And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a real-world practice backed by some incredibly powerful tools. If you're living in the Azure world, for example, Azure Policy is your go-to native solution. But there are also amazing open source and platform-agnostic tools like Open Policy Agent, you'll hear it called OPA, and HashiCorp's Terraform Sentinel that you can plug into pretty much any pipeline you can dream of.
Okay, so that all sounds great on paper, but what does it actually look like in the real world? How do we get from a rule typed into a text file to a deployment getting blocked in real time? Let's walk through a super simple example. It all starts with writing down simple, clear rules. For instance, we might say that for data sovereignty reasons, all of our resources have to be deployed in the US-West 2 region, period. Or maybe we want to keep costs under control, so we only allow a couple of specific VM sizes. And here's a classic. Every single resource that gets created must have a cost center tag so we can actually track who's spending what. These seem simple, but trying to enforce them by hand across a big organization is, well, it's pretty much impossible. All right, now let's plug these rules into a normal, everyday automated pipeline. A developer writes their infrastructure as code, maybe it's a Terraform file, maybe Bicep, and they commit it to the repository. That commit kicks off the pipeline, it runs its usual build and test steps, but now we've added a super important new stage, the policy check. This is our automated gatekeeper. So a developer is trying to create a new resource group with this little snippet of code here. I mean, it looks fine, the name's okay, but wait a minute. Look at the location. It's set to East US. Now, that directly violates the location policy we just talked about. And boom! This is the magic moment. The pipeline stops dead in its tracks. The deployment is blocked before a non-compliant resource ever even thinks about being created. And the developer? They get instant, super clear feedback telling them exactly what went wrong and why. No waiting for a manual review, no creating a ticket, just fast, automated enforcement. This, my friends, is what proactive governance actually looks like. And that little red failed message, that's way more than just a clever piece of automation. Blocking one bad deployment has a massive, cascading payoff for security, for compliance, and honestly, for the entire business.
So what does this all mean? It means you are enforcing consistency everywhere, all the time, automatically. You're shifting compliance left, catching problems super early in the development cycle, not weeks later in production.
And all the while, you're generating this constant stream of evidence that proves your infrastructure is and always has been compliant.
I absolutely love this quote because it just perfectly captures the value. Remember that last-minute scramble for audit season we joked about? It just goes away. When the auditors show up and ask for proof that you've been enforcing your location rules, you don't have to go digging through months of logs. You just show them the policy code and the pipeline history. The evidence is the system.
Okay, so right about now, the big question in your head is probably, this all sounds amazing, but how do I actually implement it without bringing all development to a screeching halt? And that's a totally fair concern. You definitely don't want to go from zero enforcement to blocking everybody overnight. The key here is a smart, phased approach.
You start off easy. You begin in audit mode. Here, the policies are running and they log every single violation they find. But, and this is the important part, they don't block anything. This gives you a baseline. You get to see how compliant you are right now without impacting anyone's work. Then you move to warn mode. Now the pipeline starts flagging violations and notifying developers, but it still lets the deployment go through. This gets everyone used to the new rules, and finally, once everyone's ready, you flip the switch to enforce mode and start blocking those non-compliant changes for real. It's a safe, gradual way to get to a fully governed environment.
Look, we've all embraced infrastructure as code because it makes our deployments repeatable, reliable, and scalable. It's really time we started applying that exact same thinking to our governance. Managing your policies through code isn't just a cool idea. It's pretty much the only sane, scalable way to manage the complexity of the modern cloud. It's a question worth asking yourself. Thanks so much for tuning in.